request Dr. Jayakumar Christian, our National Director, to come up on stage, please, and share a few words.
One of the privilege of working with World Vision is just to see our children swim with confidence before we get to know them. Very often they are shy, avoid any attention, and for them to be able to come to a program like this and stand with confidence really brings a lot of joy for us at World Vision. Today, not only is in Delhi not just the confidence, but also the ability to defend themselves is something that we in World Vision are very proud of. We in World Vision have this ringside view of how children change almost on a daily basis. And we really truly grateful to God just for this privilege to be able to see our children thrive in our communities. I want to thank all of you for taking your Saturday evening to be with us. I know it's still figuring out which is the better mic. This is a better one. Thank you. Thank you very much for taking this evening off. I know Saturday for all of us who are working is very precious little time that you want to spend with your family. And we're truly grateful to you for taking this time. We're honored that you have responded to our invitation. There are two purposes really for our coming together for this small event that we put together in different cities, which we call as Partners Meet. One is to simply say thank you. This is our way of saying thank you because all these changes that we have seen over these last few minutes would really not be possible, like Ekta said, for trusting us, for the partnership with which you trust us, and we truly want to thank you for being our partners in this great venture, which we think is a privilege for us in World Vision. We're not really doing great work. We're not doing something really spectacular. We just see a Jyoti today to be able to stand up and speak with confidence and say, you are all angels. This is the first time I've heard sponsors being referred to as angels. For Jyoti to be able to say that with confidence is really a privilege. We're not doing anything really great or sweating it out to do any charity. We're just being able to stand along with the Jyotis of our country. Second purpose for our coming together is our way of reporting back to you as sponsors and donors. This is our expression of being accountable. For World Vision, accountability is more than just simply a question of our account books tallying. This is not just simply a bottom line issue. For us, in World Vision, accountability is a core value of the organization. We do not add accountability simply as getting our account books right. We want to be accountable to the Jyotis of our country. We want to be able to tell Jyoti truly what we say to you, we will fulfill. That is our commitment to the poor of our country, to the children of our country. We want to be accountable to the sponsors and donors in that we will keep the promises that we make to you. We will sweat, we will bend backwards, we will strive, we will walk all the slums and the villages that God has placed us in just to be able to fulfill your promise that we have given you. So that is our definition of accountability in World Vision. What inspires us in World Vision is not just simply the numbers. True it is. What you see on the screen is true of World Vision. We are serving about 26 lakhs children in our country, in almost all the states of our country, in about 163 districts of our country. We are engaged with about 70, we'll give you more of those numbers. But these numbers do not wake up my colleagues every morning. What wakes us up is the fact that we can make a difference in Jyoti's life. That is what wakes up World Vision. Our size, our number of years of existence in this country does not really inspire us. What inspires us is the fact that we can make a difference in these children's lives. There was a child that I had met several years ago here. We keep meeting her. She is part of our, what we call as the children's club. She was when I met her, she was in 7th standard. She became the president of our children's club. The children's club concept in the slums in Delhi became so contagious, she started 10 children's clubs. And she was the overall president of all the 10 children's clubs. And she told me once, she said, the local councillor had come for the Independence Day celebration in her community. As part of the celebration, he gave a lot of speeches about what he is doing in the community. And then Jyoti put up her hand and said, can I ask you a question? And these things normally don't happen when you get chief guests to come and give speeches. So Jyoti put up her hand and said, I want to ask you a question. And she said, it is true you said there is electricity, you have provided electricity. But those bulbs don't burn in my class. Then she said, it is true you said you put pipes throughout our communities, but there is no water coming out of the tap. And it is just not working. And Jyoti said, then I asked her, what did he answer? He said he will come back later to meet with you because he has another Independence Day celebration to celebrate. He never came back. And today Jyoti has completed her master's in social work. She is working in an NGO. And according to my colleague Anjana, she is really proficient in Hindi. But she would choose to speak in English just as a matter of her dignity and pride. She would say, she is really good at Hindi, you should hear her speak. She spoke in World Vision's council meeting in Singapore with such confidence. When we took her to that Singapore conference site, we had also given her a little camera. She took photos of the bathrooms in that room because it was so clean. She had never seen a bathroom that clean. And she spoke with about very good at Hindi, you should hear her speak. She spoke in World Vision's council meeting in Singapore with such confidence. When we took her to that Singapore conference site, we had also given her a little camera. She took photos of the bathrooms in that room because it was so clean. She had never seen a bathroom that clean. And she spoke with about 600 people in the audience with such confidence and said, this is what I want to do in my community. I want to make sure every girl child is empowered in my community. A few years ago, I was in Imphal, and I met this girl. I was walking around with my colleagues. This little girl, Sophia, came down to me and she said, Uncle, do you know me? And I really had no clue of who this girl was. And such bubbling with such excitement, she said, Uncle, I'm your peer educator in this community. Basically, it's a HIV program. She helps as part of her school education program. She trains other children, creates awareness on HIV and AIDS. And she said, Uncle, I am part of the peer educators in your community. And then we got talking, and she said, Uncle, before you go, can you come back and visit my mother? I said, sure, I will come. And after I visited the communities, I went back to see Sophia's mother that evening. Sophia's mother was in bed, and IV was going on intravenous. She was receiving intravenous treatment, and she told me the story. She said, my father a few years ago died of HIV/AIDS. My mother is infected with HIV and AIDS. My sister Dolly, she is also infected with HIV and AIDS. And I'm the only one who does not have HIV and AIDS. So I take care of my mother and my daughter. And by the time she told her story, all of us were in tears. And I told her, Jyoti, can I pray for you? We prayed. Hers were the only eyes which did not have tears. All of us were in tears. And Jyoti said, no, Uncle, don't cry. God will take care of us. Just that if there is one word that describes World Vision's work, is to be able to instill hope in our communities. In a context that is so marked with hopelessness. In the margins, very little hope. And just to be present because of your partnership in the margins, our presence in itself is an evidence of hope. Sophia's got hope. She applied for medicine She got admission in a faraway college. She said, I will not go because she needs to take care of her mother. She's gone into graduation program. She wants to work among the hearing impaired in that area in Imphal so that she can stay close to her mother. That is so good. World Vision is just privileged to be able to work with several Sophias in our country. Your partnership really matters. For us, we have 7.6 million Indians in our country who are engaged with World Vision directly or indirectly in some form or the other. Of which 80,000 are our sponsors and 46,000 are our major donors. We have quite a range of corporates that we work with. Whether it is CSR or even before CSR bill was introduced, World Vision was actively engaged with corporates. During the last tsunami, we had 74 corporates who had partnered with World Vision. It has been a privilege to be able to represent all of you in our communities. World Vision is also involved in making India look good globally. Nisha Das, like Rekha, Nisha Das had also represented the Indian children in the United Nations. She sat there and spoke about the value of girl-child education in the UN Assembly. Nisha Das, you should see her, one of her legs is an artificial leg. And she dances with that artificial leg. With one artificial leg and on her sharp razor-edged shoes, you should see her dance. And she represented India out of our community in Kolkata. She went and represented us in the UN Assembly, speaking for the right of every girl child to have education. World Vision has been an active participant in the right to education bill. Unfortunately, sometimes our right to education has simply become a right to enrollment bill. We have a long way to go before we deliver quality education to our children. World Vision is there to be able to see our children complete education, to be able to get into graduation programs, to become masters, MBAs. Some of them become doctors in our communities. There are 40 children in our communities in Tamil Nadu. Because of a partnership with an engineering college, they give us free seats every year for 10 students from our communities. The only difficulty is these are children whose confidence is not as good as some of the rich children in the college. Their initial months are very difficult months. So I visited these communities a little later, and you should see the pride in the parents' eyes. They will show me the report card. They'll say, my child, 74% average. My child, invariably it's girl child. My daughter, she has come first in class. You go talk to her, she's such a shy little girl. In the midst of other students who have been able to enter that college because of good donations. We didn't have donations. And this engineering college gave us free admission for 10 students every year. We're hoping to work like this with other colleges. For us, our pride in our nation takes us to the field. Our feet is on the ground and our hands are dirty. That's how we express our national pride. That's how World Vision expresses its national pride. But being where it hurts, being on the margins, being in places where there is lack of hope, and just to be able to instill hope in our communities. World Vision is in partnership with you in also transforming our own nation. Our dream is that our nation will become fit for every child. That every child would look up and say, I'm so proud to be an Indian. And because this is a safe country. This is a country with opportunities for our children. Today we are engaging with 7.6 million Indians. Our dream is simply not to raise a lot of resources. Our dream is that there will be safe, there will be place in every middle class home to talk about the poor. That is all. It's a very small dream for us. Just a little space in every middle class home to be able to talk about the poor. Otherwise, the poor are often a forgotten factor. Invariably, a regular part of our external landscape. You come out of our temples, you see the poor. You come out of a mosque, you see the poor. You come out of our churches, you see the poor. You come out of our malls, you see the poor. That's the only place for the poor. We want a movement to be triggered in India where there is space in every middle class home to think about and consider the poor. That is all that we have. And today we have about 7.6 million Indians. We see in this, what we call a sponsorship and partnership, a great opportunity to transform young minds. Our children start growing up thinking about the poor. Otherwise, our opportunities for thinking about the poor are so rare and few in our context, because we are all in a rat race as middle class families. Just for our children to say, whose photo is this? And then you have a story to tell. You have a story to tell when the child is 3 years, 4 years. To be able to say, this child, my children, I have 2 sons, they grew up with 3 photos in my house. And each one had a story. And I was able to bring up my 2 sons telling the story of these 3 photos. Great opportunity to transform your children. We work very closely with our schools and using social media, challenging young people to speak for the poor. Often the poor are voiceless. They need someone like you to speak for them. Just wherever you are, wherever God has placed you, just to be able to speak for the poor. Some of you are government officers. In your policy conversations, consider the poor. Some of you are teachers. Look for those poor children invariably who lag behind in performance. And our thesis is, our theory is, and we have great evidence to say, our poor children don't perform well in education because their brain is damaged because of malnutrition before they reach 59 months. Evidence. And then you ask them to do well in studies, not at all possible. They will always be second class in India. They will always be second class in India. Because the brain was damaged when they were below 59 months. That's the evidence of malnutrition. And today World Vision is deeply involved in addressing the issue of malnutrition. World Vision is also actively involved in policy conversations. We are part of several coalitions, we are part of several task forces, we are part of the Prime Minister's National Disaster Management Task Force, or the NGOs. World Vision has been there. We are also part of the Nutrition Coalition Security, along with Dr. M.S. Swaminathan and others. World Vision has certain traits that are fundamental to us. We are an organization that, for us, poverty is not an issue. Poverty is real people with real experience. All the statistics that you and I read in this place does not bleed. People bleed. Statistics never bleeds. And those people we are in touch with on a regular basis. World Vision works with the government to make our government achieve its Millennium Development Goals. We are active. If India does not achieve its Millennium Development Goals, the world will not achieve its development goals. That is how critical India is. And our small drop in the ocean helps India achieve its Millennium Development Goals in a very small way. We are not big in that sense. Just to be able to say Jyoti need not be counted on the wrong side of the statistics. Because she has an opportunity today. World Vision India is active in several activities. Our commitment is that the families and the communities will be equipped so that they will have an opportunity to take care of the child even beyond World Vision. So we invest in the well-being of our families, invest in their economics, invest in their empowerment. We invariably empower the women in many of our communities. We have about 35,000 self-help groups in the country. About 99% of them are women. And many of these women, over time, get elected into the panchayats. They become panchayat members and panchayat presidents. And I was in a community in Jinji, a little close to Tamil Nadu in Chennai. And I was sitting and talking to this panchayat members, and all of 62 of them, all of them women. So I asked them, how did you get elected to the panchayats? Because they said a few years ago, the only place we knew was our kitchen. And our husbands told us, that is where you belong. So I asked them, how did you become panchayat president and panchayat members? They said, our community saw that we cared for the community. And we have been elected as panchayat president. So I asked them, so what does your husband tell you now? They told me, Today our husbands come and drop us for meetings. That is transformation. Our communities, women in communities are getting into the panchayats. This is bottom-up transformation for us. We are looking at communities at the grassroots, and World Vision is privileged to be able to be on the ground, hands dirty organization. For us, poverty is not a concept or an issue. World Vision is also a pan-India organization. We are present, like I said, in almost 164 districts in the country. And because of our pan-India presence, we are able to influence large numbers of population. If you see on the screen, 221,000 of our children, our communities today have drinking water because of our presence, because of the partnership that we have. Poverty in India cannot be done by pilot projects and small projects. It has to be done to scale. And because of a pan-India presence, we are able to address scale along with the government. We work closely with the block level operations, with block level officer, with the district collector. We choose to be in the most difficult contexts. Invariably, contexts where other NGOs are not there. And we choose these areas in consultation with the collector and with the block development officers and closely work with our panchayats. World Vision has highest standards of integrity. We practice a zero tolerance to any lack of integrity. No plus minus one. Zero is zero for World Vision. And I am able to sleep well because of that strong commitment to accountability. We have a great team of 2,000 staff. Significant portion of them live in communities. World Vision does not believe in visiting the poor. Our staff live in the communities 24 hours, 7 days, along with their families. Because a lot of transformation is caught than taught. Our staff live in those communities and transform behaviors of families and communities. We have a board that is very robust, an independent board that holds the management completely accountable, drawn out of many disciplines, diverse disciplines from across the country. An organization that maintains highest standards when it comes to compliance to government and statutory requirements. An organization that invests heavily in quality of programs. For us, quality is our expression of accountability to the poor. Not just simply get in best-in-class theory and implement it. For us, quality is our way of being accountable to the poor. World Vision is also collaborative in all that it does. We work closely with all the other NGOs and civil societies and governments, and in some places academic institutions. World Vision works closely with them because we believe poverty in our country cannot be solved by simply a few individual organizations doing good work. It has to be done to scale and it has to be done collaboratively. But there are a few gaps in our country. The population that we serve are clearly a population that struggles with pain in different parts of our country. There are 17 million child laborers who have never seen a classroom. And the 17 million child laborers is really part of the story. What is not counted in our statistic are the girls who are child laborers. They are not counted in the statistic. We have 46% of our children who are malnourished, and like I said, brain damage by the time they reach 59th month, that is 5 years. By the time they celebrate their 5th birthday, they are not ready for school. And we just simply enroll them. 836 million people in our country live below $2 a day, a UNDP figure. We have huge challenges in front of us. 78 million homeless Indians who do not have a roof over their heads tonight. That is India. Someone said a mistake that a poor child did was to choose the wrong parents. The mistake a poor child did was to choose the wrong parents. My children chose the right parents. So every time they lost a pen, they know the father will give them another pen. Not the poor child. Not the poor child. But this poor child just lost that opportunity. Just happened to choose the wrong parents. For World Vision India, this gap matters. This gap is not a statistical gap. It's a gap with a human face. With flesh and blood gap. And this gap I would like to suggest to you as the face of a child. A few months ago I was in Aizawl. Outside Aizawl I was visiting a small community. And I visited a house, a very dark little hut. And I went in there, and this little boy, this little girl, let's call her name Anu. And the parents said that she is HIV positive, so for anonymity purposes, we will just call her Anu. And she was only 3.5, 4 years. Chubby little child, long hair. So I picked her up and I was keeping her on my lap, and we were talking to the family. The mother was sitting there, the grandmother, the grandparents, everybody else. The mother said, yesterday my child got her report card. And she proudly brought the report card. And the report card was just spectacular. All of us would be jealous if you saw that kind of a report card for our children. The child is good in poem, in English. Child is good in oratory. Child is good in playing. Child is good in this. Very good in behavior. Everything was good. Child was in LKG. Good report card. The mother was very proud. And then, as usual, I asked the mother, so what is your dream for Anu? And I've never heard this response. I've asked several people this question and different kinds of responses. Anu's mother said, what to dream? What can I do? What kind of a dream can I have for Anu? Hopelessness. There are many in India who do not have the ability to dream dreams. There are mothers of Anus in our country who just do not have the energy to dream. Just do not have. I sat there and asked myself, what should I do to make sure Anu's mother has a dream? I came back with a broken heart from that hut. And they told me the hospital does not have supplies of pediatric dose of ARV. So they break the adult dose and give it to Anu. In a matter of time, a CD4 count will go up. No supply. There is a NACO that is not working. We sat and listened to all this. Where all this hits the ground is where Anu's mother is unable to dream dreams. That's where poverty hits. It's not in our statistics that it's gone wrong. That's where poverty hits and takes flesh and blood meaning. And it's been a privilege for World Vision to be there where it hurts. And we are there primarily because you trust us. Primarily because you trust us. You stand with us every morning when Anand and I sit and look at things just to be able to say, there are that many thousand sponsors who trust us. Just allows my colleagues to walk into a slum tomorrow morning and to be able to stay with Jyotis and the Sophias and the Anus. And this is our way of saying thank you to you. We want you to do a favor. We want you to speak to other middle class homes. Just ask them to create space to think about the poor in their families. That's all. That's all that we want. We want you to be able to speak to another family or a friend and say, create a little space to talk about the poor in your dining table. That should be enough for us. That would have been a great achievement for this evening's coming together. Thank you very much.